This is the Coach's Wife Life podcast. I'm Kristen Eargle, your host, a former TV sports reporter and fellow college football coach's wife. I'll go one-on-one with the strong women who are the backbone of college athletics and athletics of all levels. And now, Coach's Wife Life.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
Hey there, I'm Kristen Eargle, and we have an exciting podcast ahead. But first, I want to talk about something we all know way too much about: moving. Just the thought of that can bring an unsettling emotion. Well, I found a team that can take that load off your plate. It's D1 Relocation. This group can do it all. They can organize your move, coordinate with a moving company, and a trusted real estate agent. They can actually vet key household partners such as schools, insurance agents, physicians in the area. They can even help set up your Wi-Fi and water. It's incredible. So I've come to know this team, which is actually founded by a coach's wife. I think you should check it out. Whether you're looking to move now or in the future, it's d1relocation.com. Now on to our awesome podcast. I am so thrilled to have my next guest on the podcast, Courtney Heck. She is the wife of Dan Heck, Troy's Deputy Athletic Director of External. I am so thrilled.
I am so excited.
Oh my gosh, the administration side of the house.
Yeah, it's
like
fun.
A totally different vein. This is fun, but you're going through the same thing we go through.
Absolutely. There's a lot of similarities.
And I want to hear all about it. I mean, so let's start with maybe some of the biggest misconceptions about the working on the administration side. What would you say?
Yeah. I wanted to start out by telling a little bit about just how hard it is to even become a deputy AD or an AD, and just kind of take you through that. I feel like sometimes the misconception from your question has a lot to do with like, oh, this is like administration is like scary people, or, it didn't take a whole lot to get there, or maybe it's like an easier way into working in sports every day. And the truth of the matter is, Kristen, it is full of years and years and years of grueling work. So you take somebody from college and they are going to get their undergrad and then their master's in sports administration. Well, from a very young age, they have to almost this day and age declare, if you will, what do I really love about sports? Do I love marketing and fan experience? Do I love fundraising and development? Or do I love like facilities? So once you kind of declare that, you're working, even as a graduate assistant, you're working, 60 hours a week. And it's years and years and years. It's time for a quick story. Dan, my precious husband, he likes to tell me this story all the time. So he was 18 years old and he was a graduate assistant at, where was he? Central Michigan. He was a graduate assistant. And his very first job in athletics was sweeping off the seats, the bleacher seats outdoors, all the snow. Yeah, the snow off of the bleachers. So people could have a better fan experience. And that is how he got his start. And it just brings you back to just the work ethic that it takes to get there. And now I just, hearing that, I'm just like, geez, so the next time that you hear somebody like say it's a deputy AD or an AD, that these guys have been, guys and girls have been, they've put in like 20 years of work to get that job. So yeah, but I think that's kind of a common misconception. It's just like, oh, you go to college and you get a sports administration degree and then you're an AD.
Doesn't happen that way at all.
No.
And I think you're right in the fact that does us on the coach's side, the coach's wife side, we don't really think about what y'all go through until you're like kind of like up close, or maybe you become friends with someone. You're like, whoa. And to be really honest, okay, let's talk about some of the places you've been. Hang on, I lost my train of thought here.
Yeah.
So you've been at Arizona, you've been at Auburn, you've been at Alabama, And can I just talk real for a second? So like if you're coming along, you a lot of times the administrative side doesn't make as much money as the coaching side.
Right.
Right.
That's
So
right.
you're putting in all these hours, but they're not making the same level
That's
of
right.
money,
Correct.
especially at places like Auburn and Alabama. It might be
No.
closer if you're at an
Yes.
FCS school or D2 school or something like
Correct.
that. The money might be
Yeah.
more similar, but it's significantly different money, I
Yeah,
would imagine, than
absolutely.
the contracts that the coaches are making at an SEC school.
Right.
And so it's similar life, but yours might be harder in a way because you're like, well, that would be nice if I could hire that done. But
Yeah.
not to
It's
lead you down a
definitely-
path of like ungratefulness, but you know, that it is different. The financial piece of it is different. There's a lot of sacrifices that are going without some of the perks, I guess, that some of the coaches' wives
Yeah.
get, and some of
Yeah.
all of this. If we're being super honest about this, what would you say some of the biggest differences to you about being a coach's wife versus from what you've seen to be on the administrative side?
Sure. I think there, like you said earlier, I think there's a lot of similarities. We both support our spouse. We both love really well and really hard, and we're always trying to figure out, what can I do to best support our spouse? But I think one of the biggest differences probably is that as a coach's wife, you're more concerned with student athlete wellness, health and wellness of them, really pouring into the student athletes on your team. Whereas like administration, I am, involved a lot with developing and helping and supporting the actual coaches and the actual coaches' wives, making sure that their families have what they need so they don't have to worry about anything else. Because at the end of the day, we want our coaches to feel supported. We want to be there for them. We want to provide them with every single thing that they need, and so they can win. If you are worried about, say for instance, branding or crowd attendance at your baseball game or your football game, then their mind cannot be on the players, which is what we need. So we best support the coaches and the coaches' wives.
Do you get as stressed out at games as some of us? Do you
Yes.
feel it too?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're sitting there like,
I'm sitting there. Yes. I have learned how to keep my mouth shut over the years.
I mean, it's hard.
Listen, I am competitive as they come. I genuinely, I want to win. Tennis, football, basketball, I want to win. So yes, very competitive.
Because emotion is emotion. And I try to explain this to people a lot because I didn't really understand this until I had a child playing sports.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to Ty Simpson's mom, and I was asking her, Alabama's quarterback.
I saw the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I love her. She's amazing. And so I was asking her, like, what is it? Was it more stressful to be the head coach's wife or the player's mom? She's like, oh my gosh, player's mom. And I started feeling that as well, because you always think that this is the most stressful thing in the whole world. And then you feel it from another angle, but then emotion is emotion. Like when you're stressed about something, you're stressed about something. And so when you're stressed about a win on the administrative side, you're stressed because you know how it impacts every piece of it. It impacts your job too.
Yes, it does. It impacts, like winning impacts recruiting. If you don't have a winning program, then that's hard on recruiting. Yes. So yeah, I get it.
On the other side of what I do, I work for College Town and I interview athletic directors. I interview your husband, an incredible man, and huge respect for him. But I didn't really understand it until I really started working at College Town, where it's like, oh my gosh, they're going through the same thing. Like, how did I not see this? I've been in coaching for 23 years maybe, or something like that. How did I not view it? Like, what was wrong with me that I didn't see that some of these people around me were going through the exact same stress? So that's what I wanted to have you on to go, hey, we're all in this together.
We are. Listen, we are just as stressed.
I know, we're stressed out together, but having the best time too. Like, there's so much joy in this. And so
that's right.
The way that we get to impact people is just incredible stuff. Okay. So for you personally, how did you meet Dan?
Yeah,
absolutely. Crazy life that we live.
Oh my gosh. It is such a beautiful God story. I tell you, Kristen, so we met through church. We go to a church. We actually still go to the same church. We go to a church that has many campuses all over Alabama and Georgia. And so I was living in Montgomery, working in Montgomery. Just kind of, very independent, doing my own thing. And he was at Auburn. I was trying to think. He was at Auburn. And so we were both like in young professional small groups at the same church, basically. And so we both came together, and we met through a mutual friend at a worship night. And that was kind of just like, the first time that we had like seen each other, but you're at a worship night. So like not a lot of time to mingle,
Right.
Got to remain reverent,
Like, hello, how are you? Let's pray.
Literally. So about 2 weeks passed by, and I kept thinking about him. I was like, gosh, he was so nice. Like, I need to ask my friend more about him. I just kept thinking, and apparently he was thinking the same thing. So, but we never got around to that because the Lord, 2 weeks later, placed us in the exact same small group.
Oh.
I know.
Amazing how God does that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we both found out that we both had a huge ministry heart, specifically for street outreach. So we would walk the streets and help people, pray for people, just really telling them in the name of Jesus. A lot of these people, just were very needing a hand. And so we figured out, oh man, okay, well, all right. So we have this in common. And so we kind of met in that group, and it kind of just all ran from there. I will never forget. I have to tell you this. I will never forget. So we kind of like met in the small group and everything. And we started out as friends, everything. And he was like, hey, can I get your number? I should have gotten it at the worship night, blah, blah, blah. So he called me, and I was like, yes. He called me. He didn't text. He's an adult. He is an adult. I told my mom, I was like, he is a man.
He's a man. He picks up the phone and goes after what he wants.
Me, and I was like, hello?
I'm not going to give you like the whole 6 hour. I'm sending you a text.
No.
Wait 6 hours. Don't text back too fast. No games.
No, listen, 0 games. The man he is absolutely incredible. So he asks me out on a Tuesday night, and he goes, hey, by the way, I'm in sports. I didn't know it. And I'm in sports, and the only days that I can actually take you out on a date is a Tuesday. And I was like, let's do it, and it kind of all just started from there. That was in 2018. We were married in Auburn in 2019. And then May 2019, we got married in Auburn. And then just like 4 months later, Webb came along.
Oh, wow.
We found out we were pregnant about 4 months after we got married, and we were like, okay, let's do this thing,
Wow.
Yeah.
How exciting. Mm-hmm. And so now Webb
is 6.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So I forgot to ask you, where did you grow up? I love your beautiful Southern accent. And your husband's from the North.
He is.
I'm sure he's completely in love with the accent.
Thank you. Yes. Dan's from Michigan. Complete Yankee. I tell him all the time. Like, he had never had like sweet tea. I know he was on your other podcast and he talked about the sweet tea. So the first time I cooked him cornbread, he just died. He was like, what is this?
He hadn't had cornbread?
No, he had never had cornbread. Yeah. So I'm actually born and raised in Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah, I went to Robert E. Lee High School.
There you go.
Shout out Lee Generals. I went to college there at Faulkner University, and I spent the majority. So this is the first university. We're now at Troy. This is the first university where I have actually not worked. But prior to this move, which just happened in January, so 3 months ago, January, February, 3 months to 2 months in. My career, I am by education a counselor, And so I spent my entire career, 10, 15 years, I guess, in correctional facilities.
What?
Yes. In the Alabama Department of Corrections.
What? How did I not know this?
I know, teaching life skills, re-entry programs in both men's maximum security, and then I went down to juvenile.
What?
It's so fun. It was amazing. I enjoyed every second. Yeah.
And now I've lost all my questions. I have to do a follow-up. How did you get into this job? Why were you not scared? Like, what is going on?
The Lord, I'm telling you, he just gifted, the Lord gifts us very differently. I truly feel like, the Bible says that he gifts his children very differently. And I just really feel like the Lord gifted me with the ability to connect with people that, come from a hard background and have been through a lot of troubling times in their life, and kind of, being able to encourage them and lift them up and teach them skills that can better themselves. So I really do feel like it's all the Lord. It's all, but I enjoyed it so much.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you would show up to a prison.
Literally. Yeah. And wear a smock. Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating entertainment.
Yeah. For like 12 years. It was amazing.
For 12 years.
I think I was 10 or 12 years. Yeah.
So they had, you were in Tuscaloosa. Did you work there in Tuscaloosa doing this?
So no, I actually went, so that was up through Auburn.
Okay.
And then when we moved and Dan worked for the University of Alabama, I was not in the prison system. I actually went and worked for a nonprofit called the Kristen Emerson Youth Foundation, which was absolutely incredible, teaching suicide prevention classes in our local schools. So still had like a hand in being able to, help people out and teach valuable lessons, and still felt very fulfilled from that. And but now in Troy, I do not work. So I just am like trying to still figure it out. Like I said, we've only been here 3 months. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm asking the Lord every day, do you want me to work? Do you not want me to work? So we'll figure it out.
That is fascinating. Okay. So you guys have been, so he was at Arizona and then he came to Auburn, right? So you weren't in Arizona, were you?
I wasn't. No,
Okay.
Yeah. We met while he was working in Auburn. He was like a director, again, back to the scale, how long they work. I feel like he was like a director of sports marketing or something when we met at Auburn. Yeah.
And then he became what was his ending title at Auburn, then went to Alabama?
Yeah. So his ending, let's see, he was assistant director. It's kind of like coaching, like where you have like a ladder.
Right.
Assistant director or assistant athletic director, I feel like, at Auburn. And then we went to Alabama and he was associate athletic director. Pretty and then cool. Now we're at Troy and he is deputy AD.
It's amazing. Okay, so let's hear some bragging a little bit. You've been a part of some championships. If you've been at Auburn and Alabama that long, what all have you seen?
It has been just a wild ride. I don't even know, Kristen. I wish I could tell you.
You were at Alabama last year.
Yeah. And
what kind of bowl games have you been to?
I've been to the Sugar Bowl. Yes, I've been to the Sugar Bowl. That was my absolute favorite thing ever. I had never been to a parade, like an actual parade. So getting to like stand in the parade, I didn't even know they were like throwing beads and all the things. And I was so in heaven. But probably the biggest bucket list item that we have ever done was we got to travel to the Rose Bowl. And if you have never been to the Rose Bowl, I don't even care if like it's your team. You need to go to the Rose Bowl. It was iconic. It was absolutely everything that you think it will be. It's like 100 times more. Incredible.
Did you go to the Rose Bowl parade? Because I hear it's really early in the morning. You did.
No, we did not go to the parade.
Because it's like same day and it's really hard to get to and the bowl game. Is that true?
Yes, it's very hard to get to. You kind of have to pick one or the other just because of transportation and those types of things. But we had family. So remember, Dan's family's from Michigan. So Michigan was playing Alabama.
That's right. That is right.
So we had family from Michigan who came over for the Rose Bowl. And so we got to hang out with them, which was
and that was Coach Nick Saban years.
That was Nick Saban years. Nick Saban, one of the best people ever. Him and Miss Terry, absolutely incredible.
So you know them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd like personally know them, but yes.
Hey, a little closer than me over here. A little closer than me. That's awesome. So not every day is the Rose Bowl day, right? There's times that you have adversity. There's times that you are sweeping snow in the Central Michigan. Is it Central Michigan? Is that right?
Central. Yeah, Central Michigan.
Yeah.
That's where we started.
So what would you say it's been the toughest adversity that you guys have been through? What did you rely on to get through those moments?
Yeah, great question. I'm so excited for this. So I get to tell you now about our little COVID baby. We had, so it was, I was pregnant. We went in for like our routine 36-week appointment. And up to that point in my pregnancy, everything had been just perfect. Everything was great. Everything was going so well. And they said, hey, your blood pressure is a little bit high. And so, moving forward through the story, like this perfect pregnancy, came tumbling down right in front of me. I was sent to the emergency room, and many, many hours later and many tests later, just out of nowhere, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia. So I don't know if you know about preeclampsia, but it is a condition that literally just, not to scare any of my pregnant girlies, it literally comes just out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, where your heart rate just stays elevated for a known reason. I would just be laying there in the bed, and it would get up to 200 beats per minute or whatever, it was crazy. So they said, so I was diagnosed with preeclampsia. They said, hey, guess what? You're not going to be leaving the hospital without a baby. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Wow. Yeah. So lots of tests. They had to put me on a very, very, very strong drug called magnesium sulfate. So you don't have seizures during the process and everything. They're trying to get, me to calm down, baby to calm down. And we're also hearing now about COVID. So this was actually March 10th. And if you remember back to 2020, it was literally the week. It was the week of COVID. So we were hearing about COVID. Nothing had been shut down. There was no masks yet when I went into the hospital. There just wasn't. And so I'm trying to lay there, trying to calm my heart rate down and everything. And then the doctors, it was just a very scary situation. And we also, during this time, my husband is, at Auburn. Obviously, he's in sports. He's got his laptop, he's never not working. And we get the the D1 ticker. If you don't know what that, I'm sure you know what that is. Y'all are all athletics wives. D1 ticker comes across and it's like NCAA cancels March Madness. And we're going, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You're canceling the tournament? So, and I'm laying in the bed like this, trying to, I'm sorry, what? And, trying to remain calm and everything. Right. And he's like, Courtney, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to have a baby, your baby here. I have no idea. So they shut the hospital down. They literally they came in, they're like, we're shutting the hospital down. No friends and family can come. So, Dan and everybody in the world of athletics, is having this mini crisis. We're trying to have a baby here. My mom and dad are in the parking lot, not allowed to come in. It was, when I tell you, it was an absolute mess. It was an absolute mess. And so, we ended up having to kind of have an emergency-ish C-section. They had to take Webb. And then, finally we, got my blood pressure regulated and all of that. And so we stayed in the hospital for another couple of days, and I say all that and it sounds very traumatic, which it was. And I went to therapy many years to get over it. Yes. Just being real. Y'all know I keep it real.
Yes.
Yeah, it took a long time for me because as a mom, I was like, I felt very robbed. I felt very robbed of like that birth experience, that everybody else got to have. And we compare this and we think this and we go in with all these expectations that it's going to be like this and perfect and beautiful. And, oh, you're going to put a blue hat on him and all the things. And in reality, it just was not like that. And so I really, really worked on that with my, mental health wise. We really worked through that together, and we're at a really good place now. Obviously, he's 6 years old. I've had time to work that out. But yeah, so that was fun. And we relied on the Lord, only the Lord to get us through that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look back now, what were some of the things that kind of got you through some of those hard days?
Yeah. I think Dan just laying with me. We were there for 4 days before Webb was born. And Dan just, we had our Bible out. We were, he was reading scripture over me. We were, playing worship music. I think just kind of, I'm a person like I need distraction. And so I don't want to sit with it. And so, he would come over to like my bedside and be like, you know what, in a year from now, we're going to laugh about all this. And I'm like, in the moment, I was like, I don't think so.
Like, I know this is big. This is going to be big for a long time.
But guess what? Now here I am 6 years later and I can talk about it and hopefully help somebody else who didn't have a perfect birth experience that we as women think that we like somehow deserve. We don't.
No.
We don't. It's not always fun. And so I've had to learn that.
Yeah, definitely. How does it change you to go through things like that, maybe you handle other things differently now that you've been through something like that? Do you feel that way?
I do, Kristen. I really do. I feel like now, we still have challenging days, and it doesn't go away. When you're faced with, having to fire a coach, like that's not fun, or, in the middle of a coaching hire, that's crazy too, but whatever comes our way, I think I remember back to that moment and I'm like, you know what? I had a doctor in a hazmat suit deliver my child, I'm good. Like we're good.
Yes. I know that was the week that
it was literally the week.
I remember thinking, gosh, there's probably pregnant wives right now in the hospital.
Literally. Yeah. We were actually, so Webb Walter was the first baby born after the doors locked. Yeah.
Wow.
In the hospital in Arn. Yeah. I was just sitting up there like doctors came in with like hazmat suits on. I'm like, this is traumatic. Like what is going on?
Yeah. But we do feel like we're owed something. We feel like we're supposed to have this perfect story throughout life. Like this is supposed to be our perfect little path through to become an AD or to become a head football coach or head basketball coach, or we're owed something. We're not owed anything.
We're not owed anything. And it's just all about learning to just shine bright in adversity. It really is. And if you can learn to shine bright through adversity, that will get you really far. Yeah.
Do you have administration wives that you call on or talk to about different things?
Yeah, I do. My current AD's wife, she's great. We talk a lot. We go through the same things. The circle is smaller, obviously, than like with coaches' wives, and you've got lots of different levels and everything. So really, at my level in administration, like it's really just the AD's wife and the deputy AD's wife, and then sometimes we have, others, associate athletic directors, depending on your school and everything. So the circle is really small. And you have to still rely on other people who understand. I rely a lot on coaches' wives. I have great relationships with our other coaches' wives too. Like our current baseball coach is Skylar Mead. His wife Jessie, she brought her kids to my son's birthday party. She's just absolutely, that's our head baseball coach. Like, so it's really like administration, but it really truly is like a family. It is all, we have all really big roles that we play at this university, and we kind of stick together. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you think some of the things that you're doing that's helping create the success that Dan is having right now?
Yeah. First and foremost, I have a non-negotiable, Kristen.
Okay.
I take care of myself. I do. And, as women, I feel like a lot of times, like, especially society tries to put this like narrative on us that, like, if you go to the gym or if you get a babysitter, all of that is just selfish. You should be at home cooking supper every night. And, in reality, like, if I am not taking care of myself, if I am not filling up my own cup through whatever it is, I cannot show up as my best self for my husband and for my child. It's funny because my kid now, if I start skipping workouts or something and I'm a little cray-cray that day, he'll be like, Mommy, did you go to the gym this morning? I'm like, you know what, buddy? I didn't get to go to the gym this morning.
I know.
So it's the truth. You gotta, and so what that looks like for me in my own life is I go to the gym every single day. I literally, at least 6 days a week, I go to the gym every single morning, and I take care of my body. I don't know if we talked about it, but I have been teaching group fitness. I'm not teaching right now. Yeah, I've been teaching group fitness for over 20 years. Like,
wow.
I started in college. So
Zumba,
cardio, hip hop, spin, all the things. And I get so much joy and fulfillment from that. But I can tell you that every single woman that I've ever had in my class, like, there are some women who, when they're on a bike and you're teaching them spin, like, you can see it in their eyes. And sometimes they start tearing up. I get emotional just talking about it. Sometimes they start tearing up, and you just know, and they'll pull you aside after class and be like, thank you so much for being here, because, like, you don't know how much I need. Oh, it gets me up, choked up. You don't know how much I need this. Like, I need this every day. And so just taking care of myself is really the big thing. And then obviously the house. Yeah, all the things. Dan calls me the CHO, Chief Home Officer.
I love CHO. I love that. That's true. We have to handle most things.
Everything, girl. I'm like, Dan, like, will say, he'll just mention, like, oh, I'm out of deodorant, and then just, like, magically shows up. He's like, oh, honey, thanks. I'm like, I'm always listening. Always.
I know.
Always listening.
Yes. Process you guys use to make big decisions. I mean, you were at Auburn, you go to Alabama, and you go to Troy.
Yes.
Obviously, there's higher levels of, what he was going after at each one. There was some stepping up along the way. But knowing when to make that or where to go, some of them probably been no-brainers. They're like, yeah, you got to take that. But how do you guys make decisions?
Yeah. Okay. So this is funny. We've been in this together now, like, I guess 7 years, 7 or 8 years. We have a formula, Kristen.
Okay.
It's still the formula. It's the triple P.
The triple P. Okay. Share the triple.
It's the triple P. Peace, people, purpose. It is literally our triple P. So we start with peace. We say, we really pray about it. We never ever make a rash or rushed decision. Does God give us peace about this? We do not step even one toe towards it unless it does not feel completely in God's plan and in God's peace. God He is a God of clarity. And I have learned that God is a God of clarity, and the devil, he is a devil of confusion. So if it feels confusing, it probably is. So we run and we chase after peace first. The second thing that we think about is people. So now this might be a little bit different in coaching, so you can tell me, but for administration, It is very, very important, especially when you get up to like Dan's level of like, deputy athletics director. You need to be in lockstep with that administrator who is above you. So what that looks like is like if you do not share the same morals, that's a big one. If you do not share the same morals, the same family, I could preach on that one, Kristen. If you do not share the same family values and time, it's a no-brainer. It's just a no. So what that looks like is really truly getting to know the administration, figuring out so on those on-campus visits, what is the culture like in the office? Is it a culture of toxicity, or is it a culture of encouragement and all of that? So yeah, you got the piece, you got the people, and then lastly, you've got purpose. So for us at, the level Dan is, we really look at, what is the purpose of this move? You never just like want to move. Like, we all have families, we uproot, you don't ever just want to say, okay, well, yeah, I think that sounds like a good opportunity, and you just move. No, like it is a total process of, okay, what are the roles and responsibilities that he can have there that he does not currently have? Really, in administration, it's very rare that you want to make a lateral transfer. So you really don't want to move in a lateral way. You want it to be filled with peace and people and purpose, but traveling up, traveling up in the ranks. Yeah.
Wow. This is really good stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Really good. I love this. It's very much correlates. It's the same way you have to be in lockstep with your head coach.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. Okay. Yeah.
Or it will not work. This is huge. I love this, the 3 Ps. And it correlates so well with what we do on the coaching side, because you have to be lockstep with that head coach.
Yeah.
So how do you go about figuring out if the culture is what everyone says the culture is? Like, how do you read that situation?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's probably, like I said, going on those campus visits. Is that a coach's thing too? Campus visits and stuff? Okay.
Most of the time we do, but sometimes we don't. And it's like they're offering you the job and it's over the phone.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But yeah, so campus visits, absolutely. Every single, so I'll just give you an example with Dan and I. Let's see. Okay, we were at Auburn, both when we went to Tuscaloosa. So when we were offered the job with Greg Byrne at Tuscaloosa, and then here at Troy, those visits were full family visits. So your whole family comes and you really get a chance to you walk the campus, you feel it out, you meet a bunch of the team. And so that's kind of, I guess, your big time to figure out, like, does this feel right? Because one thing that COVID taught us is like, you kind of need to be there, like COVID, having the screen there, can feel very different than being actually on a campus in a working, on a working college campus. So I feel like when you go to those on-campus visits, you can kind of feel that. And then also in administration, it's very all about, I would say 90% of it is who you know. Mm-hmm. So we, for instance, Dan, when he was at Auburn, we got a call from Greg Byrne to come to Tuscaloosa and work for University of Alabama, because Dan worked for Greg at Arizona before that. So it's really like staying in community and knowing those people. Actually, Dan used to babysit his dog.
So he really knows that family well.
He used to babysit their dog. I thought it was the cutest thing ever. So same thing with Troy. So we were at Tuscaloosa. We got a call from Kyle, who's our current AD here, Kyle George. And we knew their family from Have you ever heard of 80s for Christ?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We love that organization.
Yes. We spoke at it. Me and my husband did a couple of years ago.
You did? We
Yes.
must have missed that conference.
We were in
Oh
Nashville.
my goodness. We try to go every summer, but we knew them from 80s for Christ. So it really pays huge dividends to stay engaged in community and really following up with people for the genuine purpose of just loving on that person. Like sometimes in administration, it can be very like transactional. Like I'm going to stay friends with this person because I might need them one day. Like, no, we don't do that. We call people because we love them. We are proud of them. And we like, you know, Dan calls every one of his guys. Like every time they get a new move or a new thing, you know, how are you doing? You know, checking on you. I know you got a coaching search going on right now. How are you doing? You know, trying to stay genuinely connected the way that Jesus does. You know, Jesus was not transactional. He stayed very connected with people. So, yeah.
And do you connect with the spouses? I mean, do you?
Yeah.
You as well?
Yeah,
Like,
I try to stay connected. Yeah. We're kind of all over the country. But yeah, so 80s for Christ, especially, you know, we have a group of spouses. They do spouse programming at their conference and events and everything. And we try to stay somewhat as connected as we can. You know, we're all absolutely crazy, but you know, we follow each other on Facebook and Instagram and all the medias.
Yeah, for sure. But what about when you say you're close to some of the coaches' wives? And I know you're in the position now, at some point you'll be part of hiring and then maybe part of decisions in firing. Do you ever worry about that aspect of like getting really close to a wife? Or I'm sure maybe it's happened on his staff where someone's been let go. How do you handle that? Number one, how do you handle the fear of if I get close to somebody and they're fired, how is this going to impact things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. But you have to just, when you're in administration, you have to know that, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, they're going to find another opportunity, or maybe they're leaving. Maybe they're the ones who want to go and get another opportunity. It's tough. But I think athletics wives in general, like coaches' wives, admin wives, like we kind of are cut from a different cloth, you know, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like we kind of just all know the business and we try to, so like when I connect with coaches' wives, admin wives, like very rarely are we even talking about our husbands, you know, we're trying to just like connect with each other. And I think too, like just knowing that we will always be there, you know, and knowing too that it's going to be very hard. Like even like if we leave, you know, like when you leave a university to go to another position for whatever reason, even if it's a good reason, you're still leaving behind like this group of women that you took time and you know, you got to know them. You were very vulnerable with them about what's going on in your life. And so it's hard. It's very hard to leave. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you text the wives that have been let go?
Yeah. I actually haven't really stayed connected. But that's just because I really haven't had really great relationships with any that have been let go.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hear you. Okay, so how do you keep your husband encouraged? Maybe it's never happened because it's been a pretty good path right now. We're on a good roll. But if he didn't get the job he applied for. Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that question because I feel like in admin, it's a little bit different. And in all vulnerability and transparency, Dan has never applied for a job. Like it's always just been an AD calls and says, hey, you know, we've got this opening, you know, are you interested? There's a lot of, what are they called? They're like the recruiters. I forget what they're called, like headhunter, you know what I mean? Like the recruiting people, sports guys that kind of follow administrative guys and girls' careers. And so they might just like reach out and be like, hey, is this something that you're interested in? So for us personally, we have never been through that. But what I would say is that my dad used to always tell me when I was growing up and going through things, like not making the tennis team or whatever, that if God has something for you, it is only for you. So like, nobody else can take away that job if that job was for you. So, and just kind of resting in that. That's what I would tell Dan.
That's good stuff. Okay, so how do you maintain balance in a life that never slows down? Day in a life. We know you're working out. You're teaching classes.
I'm working out. Listen, I'm getting up every morning and I'm going to the gym so I can have my own peace.
Do you do it after school drop off or do you before?
Yeah. So, okay. So let's do kind of like a day in the life. So I wake up. Dan and I have my quiet time, and then Dan and we are early birds, by the way. We get up at like 4:30 in the morning.
What?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's wild. We both have always been, I know, we've always been like that.
You.
Even when I was in college, I'm like, if it's
what?
My body just gets up. I have no idea.
I can't understand. Wow.
I have no idea.
Courtney, now I can't connect with you.
Dan too. I don't know. So we get up at like 4:30, have our own like individual private times, with the Lord. And then we come together, we have our coffee. That is like our thing. At 5:30 in the morning, we are sitting there in our master bedroom having coffee, like every single day of every single day. That's our time to connect. Like a lot of times, you're an athletics wife. Like I might not see you.
Yeah, for sure.
I literally might not see you.
Yeah.
So that's our time. So Dan is responsible for waking Webb up and getting him to school. So I go to the gym during that time. And then I come back home, do all the 19 million things that we do as wives, clean and cook supper and go to the grocery store and all the things. Also involved with my church. So I might have like a small group or something. Every day is different. And then I'm responsible for pickup. So yeah, get Webb. I go sit in that beautiful car line. Kristen, have you ever sat in a car line for an hour? Oh yeah.
So much.
Listen, it is God.
Car line is different with every state. And some people organize car line so much better than other schools.
It's crazy. It's absolutely
unbelievably different. And you find yourself and want to be like, I really want to email the principal because car line was like 15 minutes at this other school with twice the students. And I'm like, why am I sitting here for right now? We have a beautiful car line situation. And I was just like, this is the best car line. There's been some before you're like, what are we doing? What
are we doing? Follow the rule
here at 1:35 when it gets done at 3.
Like I know. And then they make everybody else come at 1:30.
Why are some people lining up for car line at 1:30 when their school gets out at 3? Is that
I do not know. Listen, I have a theory. I have a theory that God made car lines to hold us accountable to being patient. I am serious because every single day I have a little built-in test of patience every single day. So I get through the car line every day. And then, just depends on what the night is. We might, like last night was a really late night because we had baseball at 6:00. So we went to baseball and then tried to get him out of the bouncy house. Was an absolute disaster. We are not a family who has it all together. If you are watching this and feeling like you're the only one struggling at games, I'm raising my hand for you because I feel you.
Do you feel the pressure to go, like if you're in your sport, football, I go to the football games. Do you feel the pressure to hit a lot of different games?
Yes, I do. That's a great question. So we, so being a deputy athletic director, you're pretty much, your quote, and I'm putting air quotes if you're not watching, you quote over all of the sports. So whatever your athletic department has, like your quote over all of those sports. Well, you cannot possibly hit 100 sporting events in a day. So there's this another little layer called sport oversight. So whatever sport you are the everything for that sport, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like for us, one of ours is baseball. So Dan is the direct sport oversight for baseball. So we are at every single baseball event. If it's in home, we are there. Yeah. And so I am, we're just direct line of communication for anything that has to do with baseball, travel, just anything. Weather is crazy. This is the first time Dan has ever been a deputy AD. So like, this is the first time that he's ever like dealt with weather on baseball. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it definitely.
So yeah, I think that the pressure is there, but you just have to know that, what you're doing is good enough. That's just, hit all the sports. I try to, we go to here, we go to there. I want to make sure that all the coaches see me, see that I care for their coach's wife. Yeah. Yeah.
And then do you try to build more of a relationship with those wives that are in that sport he's a sport administrator for?
Yes. Yeah. So like baseball. Jesse is absolutely amazing. Yeah. We have a really good relationship. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. How do you reach out to the staff? He has a staff.
Yes. He has a huge staff.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is very different too, because now that he's deputy AD, the staff has grown. Like you have this many people that you're over now, all these departments. So still figuring that one out. But one thing that I've always done and will continue to do everywhere, Auburn, Alabama, is host. I love to host at our house. Please come to our house. Let me feed you. I cook everything.
Do you really?
Yes, everything.
You got some recipes for us.
Oh, I've got the recipes. Yeah, you asked about the recipes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you the recipes. Yeah, but I think I'm going to do the buffalo chicken dip.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really good because I've been making it in a casserole dish my whole life. And then did you know that you can make it in the crock pot?
There you go.
I know. I just figured that out last season, and I was like, this is just as good. And now I don't have to use an oven.
Yeah.
It's on the go. So I'm going to give you that one. But yeah, so I host every fall prior to fall sports. I have a fall kickoff party at our house, and just all the staff that just come, hang out, eat, all the things, bring your kids. And then I do it again for Christmas at our house as well.
I love this. Very good. Okay. Most rewarding aspects to you about being a deputy AD's wife?
Oh, yes. People. We are people. That's what Dan calls us. We love it. We use sports as a ministry. Dana and I are very, very vocal about loving people, treating people like Jesus does, truly using this as our ministry. So I love getting to go to new universities, meet people, love on people, host people. It's beautiful how the Lord really aligned Dan and I, because, his love of people really aligns with my love of people too. And the fact that we met in a small group doing outreach, on the streets is just really cool. So yeah, I think being able just to be around people is great, and people who love sports, and I love sports. So
I love it. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Yes. Okay. You probably know these questions pretty well because, little known fact, Courtney is a listener of the podcast.
I am.
Yes, I found that out. I love that. I was so touched. You never know who's listening. It's very cool. Okay, who was the most famous person in your phone?
Oh, yes. Okay. I grew up in Montgomery.
Okay.
I went to Eastmont Baptist Church with Wesley Willis, and we actually sang in the praise band together. And now he is the lead singer of the Christian group Rush of Fools. I don't know if you've ever heard of Rush of Fools.
Yes.
They're big time. And it's funny because he's in my phone and I'm like, I cannot unsee the 16-year-old guy playing the G chord in the praise band, and now he's like this big rock star.
I love it. Very cool. All right. What's one item on your bucket list that you have checked off and one still to go?
Okay. Checked off a half marathon. I ran a half marathon, and listen, Kristen, it was for my church. And I am like pretty fit girl,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm athletic. I work out 6 days a week. I don't need to train for this. No, it does not transfer just because you were like somewhat in shape. It is a whole other set of skills to run a half marathon. But I just kept thinking the whole time, like, if I pass out and die here, my pastor is right over there.
That's awesome.
Full of pastors. So yeah, half marathon, check. And then my one I still want to do is I want to go to England. Have you ever seen Downton Abbey? Have you ever seen that show, the Downton Abbey?
I have not.
Okay, it's a great show.
Okay.
I want to go visit the castle. You can actually like get a tour of the castle that Downton Abbey was filmed in, and that is on my bucket list.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, last 3 people you have texted.
Let's see. This is unscripted, y'all.
Yeah.
Dan.
Okay.
Kristen Eargle.
Here we go.
And my mom.
Oh, hey, mama.
Yeah.
Hey, mama. Okay, funniest account or reels that you follow on Instagram?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you something that truly takes me out. Have you seen the funny chickens?
No.
Like, oh, they are so funny. Just type in Instagram, like funny chickens.
Okay.
And they're like, all their like feathers are like flying all over the place. And they put like silly music to them and they're like dancing and stuff. Truly takes me out. Like there's one that they put like Alvin and the Chipmunk, like he's singing. It just takes me out. I don't know what it is.
All about the animal stuff.
I know.
What a Great Dane until my algorithm knows that and gives me the most Great Dane stuff. And I have to take breaks because it'll suck me in. I'm like,
I know. It's hilarious.
Why am I watching so many reels? This is crazy.
I know. I get you.
Okay. So what about your life impresses your child the most?
Yes. The fact that I can do a cartwheel impresses him. Listen, I threw one in the backyard randomly one day. Again, I think that I am more in shape than I actually am. This is a trend in my life. I'm like, I can do that. I'm almost 40. Like, I don't need to be throwing cartwheels. I almost threw my hip out, but I like got up off the ground and my kid was like, oh, Mommy, you can do a cartwheel? I'm like, yes, I can. Yes, I absolutely can. And then he told Dan when he got home from work, he was like, Mommy was doing cartwheels. I'm like, I felt pretty good in that moment.
I got
I
this.
did.
Okay, you go to a lot of baseball games. You've heard a lot of walk-up songs. What would be your walk-up song?
Yes. Okay. So my walk-up song, I am going to steal a current Troy baseball members walk-up song.
Okay.
So we have an amazing player on the team named Blake Cavell. He is from Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
Yes. And he is the best guy ever. He is just hilarious. And his walk-up song is a remixed version of like that really old song Down Under, like Land Down Under. And it's a remixed version of it. I'm telling you, the whole baseball stadium just goes nuts when that song goes on. You can find me on the patio. I'm literally like, I'm jamming. I'm one of the dancers. Like I'm jamming out. So I would steal Blake Cavell's walk-up song.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being on. This has been truly fun.
Oh my gosh, I've had the best time. Thank you so much, Kristen.
This podcast is brought to you by Ruler of Hope. Ruler of Hope is a nonprofit that supports medically fragile children. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can use Venmo at Ruler-Hope or online at rulerofhope.org.
For a replay of this episode or previous episodes, visit coacheswifelife.org and follow us on social media at Coaches Wife Life.